To those who knew him in the quiet towns of South Carolina, Todd Christopher Kohlhepp appeared to be the picture of success. A licensed real estate broker with a charismatic smile and sharp business acumen, he owned his own firm, TKA Real Estate, and managed a team of agents. His reviews online were stellar. Clients described him as helpful, knowledgeable, even charming. He drove a BMW, owned multiple properties, and exuded the confidence of a man who had rebuilt his life. What no one knew, not his employees, not his clients, not even his girlfriend, was that behind the facade of professional achievement and suburban normality lurked a deeply disturbed killer. Kohlhepp's name exploded into national headlines on November 3, 2016, when deputies from the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office made a horrifying discovery. Acting on a search warrant related to a missing persons investigation, officers arrived at a 95-acre rural property owned on Wofford Road in Woodruff, South Carolina. What they found would stun even the most seasoned investigators. Inside a metal shipping container, padlocked from the outside and hidden deep within the wooded property, they discovered Kayla Brown, a 30-year-old woman who had been missing for over 2 months. She was chained by the neck and ankle. She told police that her boyfriend, Charlie Carver, who disappeared with her in August 2016, had been shot and killed by Kohlhepp in front of her. Her rescue was not only the start of a criminal investigation, it was the unraveling of a calculated, long-standing pattern of cold-blooded murders that stretched back over a decade. Until that moment, Kohlhepp had never been a suspect in any major crime. He passed background checks, maintained a clean public profile, and operated in plain sight. But as law enforcement began searching his property, they discovered more: bodies buried in shallow graves, chilling digital records, and even reviews he had written on Amazon under his real name, reviewing items like padlocks and shovels, hinting at their use in his crimes. This is the story of Todd Kohlhepp, a man who sold homes by day and buried bodies by night. A man whose double life shattered the illusion of safety in upstate South Carolina, and whose crimes revealed just how easily a killer can hide behind a smile. What made this case even more unsettling was what investigators found online after his arrest. Hidden in plain sight were a series of Amazon product reviews written by Kohlhepp himself, reviews that, in hindsight, read like chilling confessions. He had left darkly humorous and disturbingly specific comments on items like padlocks, knives, and shovels, referencing body disposal, restraint, and concealment. These reviews were public, traceable to his real name, and had gone unnoticed for years. It was as though he had been toying with the world, leaving breadcrumbs while continuing to live a double life. Todd Christopher Kohlhepp was born on March 17, 1971 in Florida, but spent much of his early life in South Carolina and Georgia. His early years were marked by emotional turbulence. After his parents divorced when he was still a toddler, Kohlhepp lived with his mother and later a stepfather, a situation he would later describe as strained and emotionally distant. Reports from family court records and juvenile evaluations revealed significant behavioral concerns early in Kohlhepp's life. He was described as aggressive, socially isolated, and prone to angry outbursts. By age 9, he had already been evaluated for behavioral problems and was temporarily institutionalized for psychiatric assessment. During this time, professionals noted that he struggled with empathy, had difficulty forming healthy peer relationships, and showed signs of emotional instability. In the early 1980s, Kohlhepp's behavior escalated to more serious incidents, leading to his placement in juvenile detention. In 1986, at the age of 15, he was arrested in Arizona and charged in connection with a violent incident involving a teenage girl. He ultimately pleaded guilty to kidnapping in 1987 and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Court documents at the time described him as emotionally dangerous and in need of long-term supervision. As part of the legal outcome, he was also added to the sex offender registry. During his incarceration at the Arizona Department of Corrections, Kohlhepp was noted to be intelligent and capable. He served nearly 14 years of his sentence before being released in August 2001 at the age of 30. After his release from prison in 2001, Kohlhepp seemed determined to re-establish himself. He relocated to South Carolina, where he quietly reassumed life under the radar. Over the next several years, he took calculated steps to rebuild a personal and professional identity that would eventually earn him local recognition and conceal his violent tendencies in plain sight. Kohlhepp enrolled in college and earned a bachelor's degree in computer science from the University of South Carolina upstate. Then, in a surprising move for someone with a serious felony conviction, he obtained a real estate license in 2006. At the time, South Carolina's licensing board did not automatically disqualify applicants with criminal records, and Kohlhepp was able to secure his credentials by not fully disclosing the details of his past. Former employees and associates would later describe uncomfortable patterns. He often made inappropriate or controlling remarks, and some agents left the firm due to his erratic behavior. One former employee recalled that he carried a firearm openly in the office and maintained a strict authoritarian presence. But none of it ever escalated to formal complaints, and few suspected that anything darker lay beneath the surface. Privately, Kohlhepp lived on a 95-acre rural property in Woodruff, where he kept a large storage container and conducted personal business away from public view. He also owned several other properties under various names and was known to be secretive about his private life. He lived alone, though he maintained a romantic relationship and interacted with neighbors occasionally. Those who encountered him described him as odd, but never threatening. He was also active online, sometimes under his real name. Investigators would later discover that he had posted reviews on Amazon using an account linked to his identity. These reviews, mostly on products like knives, padlocks, and tactical gear, seemed innocuous at first glance, but later drew chilling parallels to his crimes. Some were laced with dark humor or cryptic references that would only make sense after his arrest. By the time he abducted Kayla Brown and Charlie Carver in August 2016, Kohlhepp had spent years perfecting his double life. To the outside world, he was a self-made man with a booming real estate business. In reality, he was harboring violent compulsions, grooming a private world where he could act on them undetected. The ease with which he blended into professional society while engaging in calculated acts of violence would leave investigators and the public asking, how many warning signs were missed, and how many lives might have been saved. On August 31st, 2016, 30-year-old Kayla Brown and her boyfriend, 32-year-old Charlie Carver, seemingly vanished without a trace from Anderson, South Carolina. The couple had recently moved in together and were trying to build a new life. Kayla, a hard-working woman with a steady job, had previously done cleaning work for a local real estate agent, a man she knew simply as Todd. She told friends she was heading to his property that day to do some light maintenance work. When the couple didn't return home, their families immediately became concerned. Over the following days, their absence became more suspicious. Charlie's car was missing, their phones went silent, and on social media, something even stranger began to unfold. Posts began appearing on Charlie Carver's Facebook account long after the pair had gone missing. The posts were cryptic, at times bizarre, and occasionally dark. Some proclaimed that the couple had run away together or gotten married. Others hinted at a conflict or suggested they were being watched. Family and friends immediately suspected the account had been hacked. The tone and grammar were unlike Charlie's, and none of it made any sense. It only heightened the growing fear that something was terribly wrong. The families filed missing persons reports and police opened an investigation. As they dug deeper, law enforcement discovered that Kayla's phone had last pinged at a cell tower near a rural property in Woodruff, owned by a man named Todd Kohlhepp, the same real estate broker Kayla had previously worked for. November 3rd, 2016 started like any other day in Spartanburg County, South Carolina, but it would end with a dramatic collapse of the double life built on deception, manipulation, and murder. After months of searching, investigators had zeroed in on a 95-acre property in Woodruff, owned by a real estate broker, Todd Kohlhepp. Cell phone data from a missing woman, Kayla Brown, had last pinged from this area, giving law enforcement a crucial digital clue. That morning, the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office executed a two-pronged plan. First, a tactical team was deployed to a rural property to conduct a methodical outdoor search for any sign of Kayla or her boyfriend. A second team was sent to Todd Kohlhepp's personal residence, located in Moore, South Carolina, roughly 10 miles away. The goal? Interview him, assess his behavior, and prevent any attempt to flee or destroy evidence. While deputies were combing through the wooded property, They heard loud banging coming from inside a green shipping container. They pried it open and found Kayla Brown chained by the neck and ankle, visibly traumatized but alive. Inside the container, Kayla was shackled to a metal wall. The interior was dark, cluttered with canned food, bedding, chains, and a makeshift bathroom. Kayla had been held there for 65 days, fed once daily, and subjected to psychological torment. The first thing she said to deputies was, "Todd Kohlhepp. He shot Charlie. He's buried out there." That statement not only confirmed her abduction, it turned the investigation into a serial murder case in real time. At that very moment, the second team of deputies had arrived at Kohlhepp's home. According to Lieutenant Kevin Bobo, officers engaged Kohlhepp in a calm, controlled conversation outside his front door. He was cooperative but cautious, claiming to know nothing about the missing couple. Then mid-interview, an officer received a radio call from the search site. "We've got her. She's alive. And she says Charlie is dead." As those words came across the police radio, Kohlhepp's demeanor changed instantly. Here is a video of that moment.
Based on the fact that you were the last person to see them, and there's some other information that the investigators, and like I said, me and him were just brought into this. Yes, as a matter of fact, I was just brought into it last night. Okay. Based on some information that Anderson Police Department received, they had contacted us for an assisting an agency report. Okay. And through that, as a standard practice, we follow the lines, yes, like she explained. Okay. And they did the search warrants, okay, with the cell phones and everything. Okay. And based on information, and that's what I was just talking to, is my supervisor. Based on the information that we received and that he's received, we have a search warrant, okay, for your residence and your car. Okay. We are mainly looking for your cell phone. Okay. Well, what I need to go in with, at least one other, me and at least him need to go in with you. Sergeant served a search warrant on your property. Okay. We have Kayla. Excuse me. We have Kayla in your property. She was locked in a container. Okay. She has told us that you shot and killed Charlie. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to need you to stand up and put your hands behind your back.
He's already handcuffed.
Okay. You're under arrest right now for kidnapping. All right, they're continue to search your property. They're going to continue to bring, they got cadaver dogs down there. Okay. If you want to help yourself, tell me where Charlie's at so we can go find his body. That's pretty much where we're at right now. Do you want to help yourself and tell me where the body's at so we can go recover Charlie's body?
No, sir.
You don't want to?
No, sir.
Okay. Why'd you shoot him?
I didn't shoot anybody, sir.
Okay, why'd you lock her in a container in your property?
I was talking about.
She's on your property right now, locked in a container. They just got her out of they called it a
shipping
container.
Connex
box. She was locked in a container in a Connex box. They got her. We have investigators. We have like 20 investigators on your property right now.
Okay.
And they have found her in the Connex box. So she never left your property. Okay? You locked her in the Connex box, and she has told investigators that you shot and killed Charlie. Okay? So I'm trying to give you an opportunity to help yourself and help us help you find this body. Because she's saying Charlie's body, you buried Charlie's body on that property.
No, sir.
So you're saying you didn't lock her up, you didn't put her in the Connex box or anything?
No, sir. I'm going to need an attorney.
Probably a good thing. Go ahead and put him in the back of your car.
Sir.
Come on, Bo.
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay.
I'm not resisting.
Okay, just stand up for me.
Will you?
Stand up for me.
Yes, sir.
Come here, Taz.
Lieutenant Bobo later recalled, "You could see it in his eyes. He knew right then it was over." Deputies quickly informed Kohlhepp they were taking him into custody. He didn't resist. Quietly, he was placed in handcuffs, read his rights, and escorted into a patrol vehicle. Despite being cornered, he remained eerily calm, even polite, as if he still believed he could control the situation. This moment, when he realized that officers had found the container, marked the collapse of his carefully guarded secret life. Bodycam footage of the arrest videos released later by Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office captured some of these critical moments. In one clip, Kayla can be heard sobbing as she's freed. In another, officers can be seen walking Kohlhepp to a cruiser, his expression blank but composed. The contrast was jarring. On one side, a visibly shaken survivor regaining her freedom. On the other, a man who had hidden bodies and horror behind real estate signs and closing contracts. The footage quickly spread across national news outlets and social media, and the world began to learn the name Todd Kohlhepp, not as a real estate broker, but as a suspected serial killer. Following his arrest, Kohlhepp was transported to the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office, where he would sit for hours of recorded interviews, ultimately confessing to not just Charlie Carver's murder, but also the Superbike Motorsports massacre and the killings of Johnny and Megan Coxey. The speed and precision of the arrest operation, combined with the digital tracking that led to Kayla's rescue, is now considered a textbook case in coordinated law enforcement response. During questioning, Kohlhepp began to confess. First, he admitted to the murder of Charlie Carver, claiming that the couple had come to his property to work and that an argument led to the shooting. His version of events, however, did not align with Kayla's or the forensic evidence. Then, almost unexpectedly, Kohlhepp dropped a bombshell. He told investigators he had killed 4 people in 2003 at Superbike Motorsports, a motorcycle dealership in South Carolina, a case that had remained unsolved for over 13 years. Investigators were stunned. The quadruple homicide, which claimed the lives of Scott Ponder, Beverly Guy, Brian Lucas, and Chris Sherbert, had baffled law enforcement for over a decade. No motive had ever been confirmed, and no viable suspect had emerged. What strikes me most about this case is the haunting contrast. A young couple looking for a better future, unknowingly walking into a predator's trap. Kayla Brown's survival and courage quite literally broke the case open. It's a sobering reminder that evil doesn't always look like what we expect it to, and that sometimes one person's strength can bring an entire hidden world crashing down. As authorities expanded their search of the Woodruff property, they discovered 2 more shallow graves. The victims were later identified as Johnny Joe Coxey, 29, and his wife Megan Lee McCraw Coxey, 26, a young couple who had also gone missing in late 2015. Kohlhepp admitted to killing them as well, claiming they had been lured to the property under the pretense of work, much like Kayla and Charlie. In total, Kohlhepp confessed to 7 murders. When asked if there were more, he hinted at the possibility, telling investigators, "You don't know the half of what I've done." But despite further searches and interviews, no additional victims have been confirmed to date. For law enforcement, the container wasn't just a crime scene. It was a window into the calculated, methodical mind of a killer who had refined his control over time. The evidence found within, from chains and weapons to surveillance systems and notebooks, showed that Kohlhepp had prepared for long-term captivity. It suggested planning, not impulse. The mass murder at Superbike Motorsports in South Carolina was one of the most shocking and puzzling crimes in state's history. 4 people were found shot to death in broad daylight at a motorcycle dealership. For 13 years, the case remained unsolved. No witnesses, no arrests, no clear motive. It wasn't until November 2016, during the interrogation of Todd Kohlhepp, that the mystery was finally unraveled. According to records, the timeline of events suggests that Todd arrived at Superbike Motorsports on November 6, 2003 at approximately 2 to 2:30 p.m. He had visited the shop multiple times before. He had previously attempted to purchase a motorcycle, but was frustrated with the staff, claiming they mocked him for his lack of riding experience and refused to sell him a bike. Between 2:45 and 3 p.m. it's estimated that Kohlhepp entered the shop armed with a handgun, believed to be a Glock. He later stated he came to make a point. What followed was a calculated execution of everyone inside. Chris Sherbert, 26, was working in the back of the shop servicing a bike. He was the first to be shot. found slumped over the motorcycle with a fatal gunshot wound to the head. Beverly Guy, 52, was next. She was the mother of the shop's owner and worked as a bookkeeper. She was found near the back office, also shot in the head. Brian Lucas, who was 30, the service manager, was shot in the torso and in the head near the showroom. Scott Ponder, who was 30, and the owner, was found just outside the building near the service entrance. He appeared to have been trying to flee when he was shot in the back. Kohlhepp fled the scene on foot and returned to his vehicle parked nearby. No security footage existed, and no one witnessed the attack directly. The business was in a relatively rural location, and traffic was light that hour. At around 3:15 p.m., a customer arriving to pick up a motorcycle discovered the bodies and called 911. First responders arrived to find a gruesome scene. 4 victims, all shot execution style. No money was stolen, no merchandise was missing. It didn't appear to be a robbery. By the evening of November 6, 2003, the Spartanburg's County Sheriff's Office launched a full homicide investigation. Ballistics matched the same type of weapon used in all 4 killings. Despite multiple leads, the case quickly went cold. The lack of witnesses and motive hindered progress. When questioned in 2016, Kohlhepp calmly confessed to the murders, providing exact details that had never been made public, including the positions and roles of each victim. His motive: he felt disrespected by the staff and believed they laughed at him for being inexperienced and awkward when he attempted to purchase a motorcycle. The weapon he used and how he approached each target. The order of the killings matched forensic findings from the crime scene. Investigators were stunned by how much detail he retained over 13 years, and how coldly he recounted each shot. His knowledge matched every piece of physical evidence, confirming that Kohlhepp was, without question, the shooter. Investigators managed to discover a timeline of events which showed Charlie Carver's murder. It's believed that on August the 29th to the 31st, 2016, Kayla Brown and her boyfriend Charlie David Carver had planned to meet Kohlhepp at his property in Woodruff to do paid cleaning work. Kayla had previously done work for him and trusted him. On August the 31st, 2016, is the estimated day of abduction. Upon arrival, Kohlhepp separated the couple. Kayla was led to the shipping container under the pretense of showing her cleaning work. It was at this point she was restrained. According to Kayla's later testimony, Charlie was shot and killed shortly after they arrived. Kohlhepp later confirmed this in his confession. Charlie was shot inside or near the garage structure adjacent to the shipping container. He was killed using a handgun, likely a Glock, consistent with the other known weapons Kohlhepp possessed. Charlie's body was buried in a shallow grave on the property, about 100 feet from the container where Kayla was held. Kohlhepp maintained access to Charlie's phone and social media, posting disturbing and misleading updates on Facebook to give the appearance that the couple had left voluntarily. These posts alarmed friends and family due to their bizarre tone and inconsistencies with Charlie's usual communication. Among the most disturbing aspects of the Todd Kohlhepp case was the revelation that, in the years leading up to his arrest, he had been posting Amazon product reviews under his real name, and many of these comments appeared to reference his crimes in coded, sinister language. Operating under the verified username Me, associated with an account registered under the name Todd Kohlhepp, the reviews were left on products related to weapons, restraints, survival equipment, and concealment tools. At first glance, the reviews may have seemed eccentric or darkly humorous, but in hindsight, they read as chilling taunts, breadcrumbs from a man who believed he would never be caught. This is a detailed breakdown of several reviews left by Kohlhepp, along with the associated items and analysis of how each may have been related to his criminal activity. There was the Master Lock 178D Set Your Own Combination Padlock. The review date was 2014. Kohlhepp's review read, "Solid locks, have 5 on a shipping container, won't stop them, but will sure slow them down till they are too old to care." This is one of the most damning reviews. At the time it was written, Kohlhepp already owned the shipping container that he would later use to imprison Kayla Brown for 65 days in 2016. His admission of using 5 locks in a single container matches the scene that deputies discovered when they rescued Kayla. The container was sealed shut, with heavy-duty padlocks on the outside. The language "won't stop them, but sure will slow them down" suggests the premeditated restraint and prolonged captivity, exactly what Kayla later described. There was the cold steel 6-inch hunting knife with sheath. Kohlhepp's review read, "Keep in the car for when you have to hide the bodies. Works great for digging at the crime scene." This review is laced with dark humour, but in context it may be literal. While Kohlhepp primarily used firearms to kill his victims, he also buried several of them in shallow graves on his property. A compact knife could have been used to cut roots or prepare burial sites. Forensics found plastic sheeting and digging tools near burial sites, supporting the idea that Kohlhepp planned each grave carefully. There was the Gerber folding shovel. Kohlhepp's review read, "Keep in calf when you have to hide the bodies and you left the full-size shovel at home. Does not come with a midget, which could have been nice." This tool is designed for compact transport and discreet use, the kind of item a killer might choose when preparing burial sites in wooded or remote areas, like Kohlhepp's 95-acre property. The joke about needing a midget is crude, but again, the reference to body disposal is blatant. Following Kohlhepp's dramatic arrest in November 2016, the weight of evidence against him, physical, digital, testimonial, and forensic, was overwhelming. From the discovery of Caleb Brown alive inside a shipping container to the bodies buried across his property, and finally his own confessions, the case never reached trial. Instead, it led directly to a plea deal, sparing the victim's family the pain of a drawn-out courtroom process. In total, Kohlhepp was charged with 7 counts of murder, 4 counts of murder related to the 2003 Superbike motorsports killings, 1 count of murder for the killing of Charlie Carver in 2016, and 2 counts of murder for the killings of Johnny and Megan Coxey. He was also charged with 2 counts of kidnapping, 1 count for the abduction and captivity of Caleb Brown, and 1 count for the unlawful confinement of Charlie Carver prior to his murder. Kohlhepp was also charged with criminal sexual conduct in the first degree, 1 count, related to the SA of Caleb Brown during her 65-day captivity in the shipping container. In total, 7 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, 1 count of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. On May 26, 2017, Judge Durham Cole sentenced Kohlhepp to 7 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, ensuring that he would die behind bars. During the brief hearing, Kohlhepp offered no apology. The courtroom was silent as the sentence was read, but the message was clear. Justice had been served swiftly, decisively, and without spectacle. Kohlhepp avoided the death penalty as part of the plea deal with the support of the victims' families. For the families, the verdict offered some degree of closure, even if the scars left behind could never fully heal. Todd Kohlhepp is now serving 7 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He will never be free again, but the true weight of his crimes will never be fully measured, not just in the numbers of victims, but in the lives he disrupted, the trust he betrayed, and the fear he left behind. What makes this case linger in the mind is not just the horror of the killings, it's how long he got away with it. Kohlhepp wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was at the front of open houses, networking, building a business, and shaking hands with everyday people. He committed unspeakable crimes while maintaining the illusion of a perfectly ordinary life. And that's what's most chilling of all, that someone can be both a predator and a professional, and we may never know the full scope of their darkness. If this case has shown us anything, it's that appearances can be dangerously deceiving, and the most ordinary people can sometimes hide the darkest secrets. If you found this case compelling, please like and share this episode, and subscribe to the Silent Casebook for more untold stories